Welcome everybody to this AI Talks. My name is Simon, and I'm one of the co-founders here of New Native and LabLab. Today we have the honor of having Diego a part of our AI Talk. And Diego, he is the founder of Synthetic AI, a company that does generative AI solutions. And he has quite an impressive background in both the industry and the academia, specifying in AI. So, and prior to starting his company, has worked at both Microsoft, TransPerfect, and worked on plenty of large projects, led teams. So I'm very happy to welcome you onto the stage, Diego, and looking forward to our little chat here. So
Thanks.
yeah, hey there, hi. So great to have you with us, and perhaps you could just start by telling us a little bit about your background and how you became an expert in this field, because it's fairly new, right?
Yeah, the field is really, really new, so I'm not sure if anyone is an expert these days. And with the pace of development, things change so fast that even if you're an expert today, you become not an expert in the next days. So I started working on machine translation in 2006 and 7. When I created my own machine translation company, it was a startup focusing on building machine translation engines. At the time, there weren't that many. It was mostly Google, Microsoft, and what we were doing was tailoring those engines to our customers' data. Basically, they were mostly translation companies. That's where the journey started with them, with those companies that were not very, very technical. We were also developing all sorts of natural language processing and machine learning projects, and we ended up being acquired by one of our customers, and the largest translation company, TransPerfect, where I was heading the AI team, and there we were starting the journey in more advanced technologies with AI. For instance, I remember that with the digital team, we were testing generation for travel and hospitality with RNN, so with recurrent neural networks. At the time, the output was really, really interesting, so basically useless. And that was the journey where my interest started in generative AI tools. That was maybe 5 years ago, something like that. And then I've done a few things, as you mentioned, Microsoft Language.io, and then at the end of last year, I was actually laid off from Language.io, and I thought it's the time to start up again, and generative AI and content creation and all these new technologies are the ones that are that will change how we do things. So I thought this was what I wanted to do. So that's in a nutshell the journey.
Yeah, I'd certainly call you an expert on this field if you've been a part of the scene that long, right? But perhaps you could elaborate a little bit about your new venture, Synthetic. I'd be very excited to hear more about it.
Yeah, so it things started in December last year. Actually, there were two projects with some friends that they needed this type of technology. One of them was in casual content, including travel and hospitality, and they wanted to create content for a specific use cases. No, one was this city content, another one was more casual content about pets and other things. And they have also many websites, so that was quite exciting. And then essentially what we did are doing with them is actually creating the content as they want it. So we select the way they want the articles to look. We create the paragraphs, optimize them for SEO. We optimize keywords and so on and so forth. And then the important thing here is that then after this process ends, let's say on our side with our technology, they do a manual check. So they proofread and edit the content. And I think that's very, very important to be successful at this point in time. So it started with that. Then we are doing quite a lot of e-commerce. So we optimizing product listings with just the product name and a few bullet points. We can generate a whole listing, and that helps a lot also the brands that are selling online to sell products. And then finally, the last thing we're doing, because I've been working on the customer support space for a bit now, is trying to integrate this type of generative tools to help customer support agents to be more effective and fast in sending the responses to customers. So as you see in these use cases, we are trying to combine the technology with a human touch so that they are able to be faster, better, and more cost effective. So that's what we are doing. And in just to finalize in the last, let's say, weeks, we're starting to do a private Q&A system for specific content types, financial, legal, medical. And instead of looking at the internet, we are basically constraining that search into your private group of subset of documents. And that gives quite good results in terms of finding the right information and delivering the right answer in a meaningful way without hallucinations, which is the challenge in generative AI these days.
That's really cool. You've built quite a lot in a very short amount of time. I'm very impressed by that. And could you perhaps speak to a little bit about the future development and where you see this industry is kind of going? Because it's, as we said in the beginning, it's fairly new, right? And there's plenty of opportunities out there. What do you think are in your pipeline and in general for the industry as well?
Yeah, I think there are. I mean, the opportunities are infinite. So I mean, probably if we start brainstorming, we will come up with hundreds, and then if more people talk, it will be even more. So it will change everything how we do things. We're focusing now on text mostly, but I think one of the most exciting things here in this area, I think it's multimodal. So being able to generate text, image, audio, video from any content. So you take text and you generate video, or you take video and you generate text, or you take video and generate images, or I mean whatever, from any format to any format. And that's quite exciting, and that will be probably one of the key areas that I would like to see growing. And then the other thing I think it's important is customization. So making sure that the models are adapted to what you are trying to achieve, and that's not only with prompt engineering, that's also with fine-tuning the models. That might be creating your own models and making things usable. And finally, the last one, I think it's also related to integration. People don't want to use external applications. They want to consume these technologies wherever they are working. That's important. So creating the right sorry, my daughter is here. Creating the right interactions with the systems that customers are working with is also not easy, and it will be very, very important.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with those premises. And one thing that you tangentially touched upon is the hyper tuning of the models, which I know plenty of our participants are very interested in, along with the data question. Perhaps you could. What's your strategy in terms of both of these? Like, how do you work with them in order to maintain a good output from your applications?
Yeah, so I would say that training and fine tuning, let's say, becomes easier if you have the data, as you were saying. So for the data, I mean, one of the key questions is making sure you focus on a business problem and then try to find the relevant data for that business problem. If your customer is large and has the data, everything becomes significantly easier, right? So they will, for instance, some customers, they are sharing with us the data only for the use case. For sure, it's protected by that. We use that data to fine tune their models and getting the best output. And we see really a huge performance improvement. And to me, that's a key thing. If you don't have the data or your customers are not allowing you to use it, or there is no data, then it's harder. I think that finding the right vertical where you can really get the content that is publicly available or open source content that you can use for that particular problem is what is important. So spending time on data, it's something I've already shared with my teams all the time since 2007 already with machine translation. Spending time with the data, cleaning it, correcting it, making sure it's good for your problem, it's not biased, it's useful. I mean, that's a big part of the success of an application or of a service.
Any hacks in terms of how to manage that if you don't have a large data set already? Anywhere we can hack it or find data that would be applicable?
I guess the answer to that is it depends. What I'm seeing these days as well is a lot of synthetic data generation that can be useful, no? Because creating data on your own is expensive. I mean, you really need to invest quite a lot of money. There are a lot of companies that can help you with that, but it's expensive. So I've seen a lot of creative applications or people actually augmenting the data. They might have little data and they use large language models to augment the data for their application with pretty good results. So that's probably the first thing I would try always.
That's pretty cool. I mean, this data debate has been ongoing for a very long time. I mean, when I entered this industry a lot later than you were, I might add, in 2014, um, there was a lot of discussion about building, maintaining data lakes, maintaining structure, and then also quality of data. How do you think that priorities have changed over the last 5 years?
Well, I've heard much less the word data lake, let's say, in my conversations with customers, as you were saying. So, but I think the structuring the data and making sure that you have the right data for the problem is still relevant these days. No, and that's very, very important. How you call it, how you store it, that will depend on your company, the application you're trying to build. And to me, the hardest thing in all this, at least for the applications that I'm working on or focusing on, is when the data is not structured. So turning unstructured data into structured data, that's probably still today among the hardest problems. You can have a lot of data in a data lake and structure in a certain way, but you need to make it useful, and that to make that data useful, that's where the hardest problem is, I think.
I definitely agree. Perhaps we can switch gears a little bit and talk about some projects that excites you. What do you think are the most exciting things in the space of generative AI today?
Well, it's that's hard to say because it's I'm excited about something and then something new comes out and then it's like, okay, this is so cool. So anything generative, I really like it. I'm very bad at music, for instance. No, so one of the things that I'm very excited about, but I'm not sure if that has a business need somewhere, is everything related to synthetic music generation. That's something quite exciting. That if you combine that with all the image generation together with the videos, maybe very interesting applications can emerge from there. And that's something that's really exciting. And how the people are thinking about all these problems in the creative world, I think that's really, really exciting. I'm not sure if that has a business application. I'm sure probably there is at some point or for some industries that, but I'm not extremely familiar. But that's one of the things I'm excited besides, let's say, synthetic. And in what we do, I mean, what I said before about the multimodal approach, that's probably that what will have an impact in the coming months for us.
Very interesting. What would you say are the next big leapfrogs in this industry, generative AI space, perhaps on a 3-year scale as opposed to just this year?
Well, that's even harder. You said no, so predicting what happens, what will happen in this world is so hard. What I mean, the short term, I think we need to fix some of the things. Not that we have seen that these models produce these hallucinations for text, for instance, or for chat. The images that don't make sense. Now, if you start playing with images, I mean, you need to play quite a lot to get exactly what you want. With video, it will be the same. So, really making sure we make those models more useful for what users are trying to achieve. I mean, it's very, very relevant, and combining it with real sources, I think will be very, very important. On top of that, I mean, this is we need to learn. Any machine learning system needs to improve and learn from experience. So given that millions of people are using these applications every day, I think it will be a matter of understanding how users or businesses are interacting with those tools and defining what's needed there. So, but I think making sure they are truthful, they are useful, they are not expensive, because I feel that, I mean, in the US or in many countries in Europe, for instance, ChatGPT, $20 a month, that's fine. Making them multilingual, making sure they work at the same level for languages, they're accessible in, I would say, anywhere in the world. Those will be also interesting problems to look at and to solve.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's an exciting time, and I think that a question that a lot of our viewers as of now is anxious to ask is, what advice would you give them now that they are embarking on creating an AI startup?
I think, I mean, that's probably not only applicable to generative AI, but for any startup. So very often I'm very technical. So I did a PhD in electrical engineering many, many years ago. But I think that as a technical person, sometimes we are trying to focus on the best technology that exists today and trying to make it useful somehow. And we sometimes don't think about the problem we are trying to solve. So I think that when you are creating a startup, you need to focus on a problem you want to solve. And the best way to deal with that is to actually talk to customers. But many years ago, people say go out and talk to customers. Go out of the office. Don't be close or just in front of your laptop working. You need to talk to customers. You really need to understand their pains, and you as a founder can solve the best way to actually solve them. So probably that would be my advice. Go out of the building, talk to customers, find out their problems, and find the best solution. And generative can be very useful for many. And in some cases, it will just be automation, or it would be classical software. You never know, but that's probably the best advice.
Great. That's I think that concludes our chat. Actually, I am very happy to have had this chat with you, Diego, and for you who's just listening in, we've had an amazing session here with Diego, who's the founder of Synthetic AI. And if you haven't already watched this, then please go ahead and watch the review on it later. With that, thank you so much for dialing in, Diego. It was a pleasure, and I hope we can speak again very soon.
Yep. Thanks to you, Simon. Thanks to you, and we'll be in touch.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.